Okay, the purpose of this video is to show you how to create the circuit for the laser diode and then how to insert the Mushi meter into the circuit to test the current. All right, the reason we're doing this is because this potentiometer is going to allow us to adjust the resistance to just at the limit that the laser diode can handle. The laser diode can handle about 20 milliamps of current, and so we're going to use the potentiometer to find out just how much resistance we need to replace this with a resistor that will just let us run the laser diode at capacity. Alright, so the first thing that you're going to do is, if you have a potentiometer in this style, you have these little nubs that you need to bend up out of the way so that we can use them on a breadboard. So I'm just going to bend it like that, and then I can put it on my breadboard just like this, and I'll put it up here. Alright, it'll lean a little bit, but that's not a problem, that's just fine. Alright, so it'll look like that. So I've got mine on row 4, 5, and 6. Alright, now you have to remember too the order. So this is A, the middle one is the wiper, the far right one is B. For this experiment, we don't need to use B, so B is going to be unconnected. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my diode. Alright, red is going to go from source like that, and then I'll take blue, and the current is going to go through the diode, come out the blue wire, and I want it to go into the potentiometer. Alright, so I'm going to put my blue wire into row 6, where the B terminal of the potentiometer is. Alright, so right there. And then it's going to go into the potentiometer and come out the middle, the wiper. This I want to go to ground. This is the end of my circuit. So I'll just take a wire. Alright, and I can put it over here on ground. I'll get the laser diode out of the way, like that. Into B and into the wiper. In this case, for me, it's row 5. Alright, so now we have a complete circuit going from source through the diode into the potentiometer, coming out through the wiper of the potentiometer, and going to ground. Alright, so just as a check, let's make sure this is working. So I've got just a 9-volt battery. You guys will use a 9-volt power supply, or you'll use a 5-volt power supply in order to do this. So plug in positive, and there's my negative, and if you can see my diode start to get nice and bright. Alright. Now, this isn't really useful unless we can tell exactly what the resistance of this thing is at the moment when this is at its maximum. Alright, so we want to make sure that we don't go over 20 milliamps for this laser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the power supply. And now I have a meter that I can use to measure the current. And in order to measure the current of anything, you have to put the meter into the circuit as if it was one of these components. So one way to do that, I could put this anywhere in the circuit. I'm going to disconnect the negative end of my laser diode, and I'm going to connect that to my meter. And then it's going to go, the current is going to go from the positive through the diode and then go through the meter. And it's going to come out the negative end of the meter. Well, I want this to pick up where the laser diode was. I want it to go into the potentiometer, like that. Now, I can plug my power source in again. So source, ground, like that. Alright, so now if I look, here is my meter reading. And right now, my meter is only reading about 10 milliamps, 11 milliamps. But the limit for this is 20. Alright, so I'm going to start turning it until I get to the point. That's going down. I want to go up. And you'll notice the laser is getting brighter, which it should. And you got to be careful. It takes a really fine touch. But that's about as good as I'm going to get. That's 19.8, 0.9, 20, so it'll fluctuate a little bit. But that's the limit. Right? Once you've got that, you can disconnect your power supply. Now what I've done is I've made sure that this resistor, this potentiometer, is set to a resistance that maximizes the brightness of this diode. Now I can take this, and instead of measuring current, I can change my meter to measure resistance, and I can measure the resistance of this potentiometer. Right, so now you know what resistor to use when you use your laser diode. All right, this can be written in the back of your worksheets that we worked on.